Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to revenue through reputation, and that's what we're calling it. Thank you for joining me this morning. It is Tuesday. It is what, June 10th. It's 11 a.m. Eastern, and I'm really excited about today. So let me start it off. Let me start off this way and see if this resonates. I was hesitant to use that word because everything I'm going to talk about is resonance today. So, I was on a call the other day with a founder and a sales leader of a company, and they were saying, "Hey, we're doing everything right. We've got content. We're pushing some things to LinkedIn. We've got blog articles. We have newsletters going out. We're checking all the boxes, but we're just not seeing it do its work. Like, we're not getting leads out of it. We're not getting replies to the emails. We're not getting conversations. We're not getting the results." And the frustration is that they're following the playbooks, right? That so many people have been talking about for a long period of time now, well over a decade. And, I had to, they said it's like we're doing all this work with no results, no fruit. And I said, "Well, does it make you feel like you're invisible?" And they said, "Yeah." And I said, "Well, you know what? There's a lot of people right now. It's not that you're not doing enough. It's not pedal faster, do more. It's slow down and let's do the right kind of content." So if you're feeling this as well, if you're like most people that are most B2B companies, like you're checking all the boxes, but the content isn't really connecting, you get some engagement, but you're not getting enough, you're not getting, people intrigued with it, engaging with it. Um, you may want to pay attention to this because we're going to talk today about not creating content that promotes or informs, but how do we create content to resonate, right? Content that promotes and informs is surface level, it's safe, it's sanitized. And think about you and the content that you pay attention to. Um, do you pay attention to that type of content? I would venture to say, if you're really take a look at it, that you probably don't. And so let's let me throw this. Here's the shift that's happening, and we have to remember this. Logic makes us all think, but emotion makes people act. So logic makes us think, and emotion makes us act. So take a look at your content and ask yourself, where's the emotion, right? Where is that resonance being created? So content that works today isn't the same as 2014, because in 2014 it was all about promote. It was the, hey, we do this for these type of companies to get these types of results. Even when you share case studies, 2014, awesome. 2025, no one cares, because all it is us putting our best foot forward, telling everybody, look at how awesome we are. Let us share with you the case studies. They could go to their network on LinkedIn or other platforms, or go to different sites and do reviews and get honest opinions instead of the ones that you want to promote, that we want to promote. So content that works today is more about who you are, what you've lived, what you've learned. It's what people want to know is how you think. What do you really like as the leader? What do you really like as the person in that role? I've said before, like, people want to know who you really, really, really are. And they're like, "Well, I don't bring all of that to work." No, it's not about your personal life, although that is part of it. They want to know how you think. They want to know what you've been through. They want to know how you can help them, like who you are, not just what your company does. So if this is intriguing to you, if you've been doing content and not feeling like you're getting the results you want, this conversation's for you. I mean, this is episode 11. That's kind of a long intro there, but it's episode 11 of Revenue Through Reputation. Excuse me. If you're still running funnels like 2014, this is probably why it's not working. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So before I keep going, thank you, everybody. Excuse me. I see Anthony and Sadala. Thank you for the comments. Appreciate you guys. So if you're on the live, if you're on LinkedIn, or I don't know where else, we've got to go into Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. If you're on the live and you want to comment, I should see it if we're live, and I'll have you join the conversation. Ask your questions. Tell me I'm crazy. Put them in there, and I'll be glad to have those conversations with you. If you're on the podcast and you're listening to this, thank you so much for joining. If you like it, I'd appreciate a review. Maybe if you really like it, you think it's valuable for someone else, take a screen capture or hit their 3 dots and share it with people. But definitely, I would love any feedback that you have for me, whether you're on the podcast or on a video, live or not live. That would be great. I'd appreciate it. I'm here. I want to take my almost 30 years experience creating content, using content for leaders to grow their reputation. Started doing this in 1998. And like I said, I go back to 2014. I had a rough kind of relationship with a lot of the content style that was being developed 2012 through 2018. I sat quiet because I felt like, well, maybe the world's changed. And I think for a little bit, it did change a bit, and promotional content had value with funnels and lead capture forms and landing pages and all that. But I believe as we're 5 years outside of COVID and AI and buyers have shifted the way that they do their work, more people are working from home, which means they have more time to do research. And these bad boys, everybody's got everything they need right at the palm of their hand. And so buyers don't want to talk to sellers ever, unless they want to. So the big question with content is, how do we use our content to get buyers to want to speak with us? And that's why I say we have to create content for connection instead of content for promotion. So here's what we're going to talk about today. We are going to talk about why the traditional funnel is failing with modern buyers. We're going to talk about the emotional blind spots that take place with that type of content creation. We're going to talk about what modern people are paying attention to, and what do you pay attention to? What captures your attention in content? And then we're going to talk a bit about how we build resonance and building that content engine. And then I'm going to give you 3 moves at the end. I want 3 moves that you can make right now to make a shift in your content that'll make a big difference. Dave Luark. Hi, buddy. Appreciate you coming and joining me today. I actually had you on my mind yesterday on my walk, and I almost called you, but I know we usually do our Friday morning calls to catch up. So be expecting to hear from me. All right, let's jump into this. So I was talking about, again, why the funnel is failing modern buyers. The key thing here is, and think about yourself, the buyer journey has changed. Now, first of all, for a lot of people that I work with, we didn't use buyer journey. We didn't use a lot of these terms before to add context, but we always knew how our buyers behaved. And prior to internet era and social media, buyers kind of, they got their information from somebody that cold called them, cold knocked on them, sent them a direct mail piece, or somebody that they met or were introduced to at a conference or trade show or some sort of networking event. That's generally it. I get, there's others, but that was generally it. So when we had first conversations with buyers, it was more about what we did initially, but it quickly shifted to getting to know each other. So think about being at a networking event and you see somebody, you look at their badge, they got, their name, their title, their company, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is somebody I want. This is a hot prospect for me. and you get all excited and you go walk over there, you got your brochure and you stick it in their hand and you go, hey, I'm Brandon and I work at, and I do ABC for 1, 2, 3 types of people in order to accomplish. Yeah, we don't do that in live events, right? If we did, we generally get a response of people going like, what are you doing? Get away from me. That's annoying. Why? And this is really important. Why is that so important? Well, because that first stage is usually where we're getting to know each other. We are trying to assess, is this somebody that I feel like I could trust? Is this somebody I would want to keep a conversation going with? Right? That first stage of meeting somebody is extremely important because we're evaluating how we feel about the other person to make a decision of, do we want to go further in conversations with them? Because remember, people make decisions from emotion. So let's get back to the 2014 content where everything was about product and service and who we are in our case studies. We skipped that whole stage of getting to know them or letting them getting to know us. And we go straight to product service. And now from a competitive standpoint, we're just like all of our competitors. There's no differentiator. There's no uniqueifier, because you, the people, are the biggest uniqueifier that a company can have when they go to market. And we've ignored that. We've led with brand, we led with product, we led with PR content, we led with value proposition, we've led with everything logical. And as we said, logic makes people think, but emotion makes people act. And here's the other piece with that. Emotion helps people remember. Logic helps people forget, because you just sound like everybody else. And so it's easy in, easy out. That's what logic does. So the funnel in that sense, and the type of content from the funnel, is failing modern buyers because we have access, because buyers have access to content anytime they want. They're not looking for the content of what you do and how you're serviced. They're looking what captures human attention. And do this exercise. Go into LinkedIn, go into any social channel for that matter, and just go through a news feed and pay attention to what captures your attention. Pay attention to what gets you to stop scrolling and go, oh, that's interesting, right? What you'll most likely find, and I've got one caveat, what you'll most likely find is the more human content, that emotional content, that people sharing a real story that they've been through, not a customer story, although that's good, but a real story of, this is something that I went through, this is what I was facing, this is how I felt, and this is what happened. That type of content captures our emotion, captures the human heart, pauses us, we pay more attention to it, and we're much more likely to engage with it, because our human can engage with human content, and we don't sit around and go, what do I say? I don't know how to engage. Our human, our heart is naturally going to want to engage with that content anyway, because it's emotional content. It's not just logical content. With logical content, we feel like, oh, what if I say it wrong? With emotional content, sharing experiences, what they've been through, we all have experiences. We can share our own experiences, or we can thank people because, oh my gosh, and thank you for sharing that. It makes me feel more normal, that type of content. But what does that do? It builds a connection. And then if you were to look and go, wow, that person liked my content, and you see that they're a prospective client, or maybe they're a good referral for clients, you message them quickly and go, hey, thanks so much for commenting on it. Really appreciate it. You want to get on a call? Let's get to know each other, or however you want to follow up. So I've got a couple comments over here I want to see real quick. Lincoln accent, I don't know, non-linear digital first, self-educated. That's what we're finding as B2B partner channel advisors in EMEA when it comes to 21st century Typical buyer persona in the SaaS space, Brandon. Yeah, that non-linear, digital first, self-educated. That's perfect. Yes, non-linear. That's for sure. One of the things in this why funnels aren't. One of the big things I wrote here is the buyer journey is not linear, and that's what you're saying. It's non-linear, digital first because that's where they get the easiest access to everything. And yes, self-educated, but I'm going to push it a little bit further. It's not just educating on the logic, it's helping them with that emotional connection to the people. Because again, it comes down to, and I know this is hard. I've shared my story before. I blogged for the first time in 2012 and got feedback that wasn't good. And I didn't blog again until almost 2018. And started my first show and shut it down because nobody was paying attention. I don't want to I just don't want to brush over hey, just create this content and share your stories and put yourself out there. I get it. It's hard. It's like we're putting if we're creating emotional content, we're exposing our emotions to be hurt, to be rejected, to feel that imposter syndrome kick in. But because buyers don't go through a linear process, they don't go step by step from awareness to decision and every step down the road. They don't follow that linear path that we as sellers wish they would. And they're smarter, they're faster, they have access to more content, they have way more people knocking on their doors, so to speak, making calls, sending emails, sending LinkedIn messages, texting them, automated calls, AI calls. They're getting so bombarded that they're just tapping out. They're like, I'm not going to. But again, go to your own scrolling down a news feed and pay attention to the style of content that captures your attention. It's more of the human journey. It's more of the human experience. What you've gone through, how it made you feel, the challenge you overcame, all of that type of stuff. That's what's capturing attention in the newsfeed, and it's getting higher engagement, and it's getting you remembered so that if they're not in the market today, but they like that type of content, they're going to keep engaging with you. The algorithm's going to keep you in their newsfeed. They're going to remember you because that emotional content hits the heart, that hits the memory, that hits the brain, and they remember you. So I'll give the story. Several of them. I like to give other people's stories, but Chris Dunn's one of our clients, and I love sharing this story. I probably should not share it all the time anymore. Move on to a few others, but changed his content, changed his commenting habits. Was looking at LinkedIn more like a networking event and just being around, being in lots of places, sharing more of this type of content. And he has several of these stories, but cold email goes out and a person responds, hey, yeah, Chris, let's schedule time to talk. I feel like I already know you from LinkedIn. So a couple things here. Got a yes off a cold email. Let's talk because I feel like I already know you. What's really important about that is look at your own content and the style of it. Will somebody say that to you? I feel like I already know you based on the type of content that you and your company are creating. If not, we're missing a huge opportunity to stand out, to be different, and to be remembered because emotional content, right? I feel like I already know you. That's emotional content. That's what gets remembered. All right, point 2 of the day. The emotional blind spots for B2B. In the early aughts into the teens, the big push with the funnel was as much traffic to the top of funnel as we can. And I think it's still, in some way, that the thinking is still there. But it was all about us. It was me, us, we. It was a lot of content that was promoting and not connecting. And even then, there was a lot. I mean, yes, there were people talking about like you have to create content from the buyer perspective. But even then, it was still about the company, the product, the service. What I'm saying is we got to go to a different level, man. We got to downshift and go deeper. It's got to be about the leader journey. Now, it doesn't mean CEO only. Leaders in the company share your journey, share what you've been through, what you've learned, how it made you feel, what the process was like. Here's an example. Tell a story of we had a client that came to us with this challenge. And this is what we did. This is how the journey went. This is how we thought about it. This is how we made decisions. This is what they gave us as feedback from our day. Like that type of journey is different than just saying, here's what we do for companies. You're inviting them into doing the research they really want to do. What they really want to know is what's it like working with you? What's it like working with your company? What's my experience going to be if I sign a contract or decide to work with you? And I think that's what Lincoln, you're nonlinear, digital first, self-educated. I just want to take that. I think the way I'm reading it, I want to take that a little bit further because it's not just the self-educated, but it's the self making that stage one emotional decision of do I resonate with these folks? Do I feel like they're the ones that are going to help me best? Let's see, what'd you say? Marketplace, this AI plus cloud seems to be the typical Gen Z buyer's journey we're seeing over here. And they love hearing from leaders. Yeah, absolutely. Lincoln, thank you for that. Sorry, Nora, I should have asked you to put that on there. Yeah. Yeah, I think especially then when we get in and we start talking about the different generations, I believe it more the Gen Z to the millennials are going to be attracted to this type of content because they've had these longer in our hands. But we are seeing that shift already too with even the Gen X to baby boomers. Again, if you're at all skeptical about this, go to a news feed. Go to LinkedIn, choose a news feed, and then try not to be biased or ask other people to do it. Scroll down the news feed and see what captures your attention. See what makes you stop, right? I guarantee it's not going to be the one caveat. It's not going to be brochure content. It's not, unless you have a hot need today right now and you're looking, that'll capture your subconscious attention and you'll pay attention to it because it's a current need. But if it's not a current need, which is generally going to be about 98 to 99% of your entire total addressable market, they're just not in market. They're not in buying mode right now. It's just not going to capture their attention. But when you share story, you share experience, you share things. I like to say, what are you feeling? What are you observing? And what are you thinking? Like, hey, based on my 25 years in the industry, this is what I'm watching happen. It reminds me back when the shift from this to this happened. That type of content, you're sharing your story, you're sharing your journey, you're sharing your experience, you're sharing the roller coaster of up and down. Right? I mean, some of the content for me that gets the most engagement is when I talk about going through the recession in 08 and 09 and going from printed content to digital content. I mean, these were big, scary shifts for me where I thought, oh man, I got this thing down. I'd had a couple companies I've sold. I knew direct mail. Direct mail is going to be here forever, right? Nope. The recession hits. Everybody's hurting on capital. And then there's this new thing called email marketing. And there's these things called landing pages and blogs and content. And all of a sudden, my entire world was shifted upside down. Everything that I had been doing for the last 10 years around direct mail, buyers weren't buying it. It was too expensive because this new thing called email was a lot cheaper. When I share those stories and what I went through and how we navigated things or the decisions we made, good ones, bad ones, that's the type of content that gets the most engagement. But it's also coming from the people that are I don't want to say ICP. I struggle with that term at times. That's a whole other conversation. But it's coming from people that are potential or prospects for my company, people that could use our services. So when I engage with them on that type of content, I'm earning the right to have a conversation with them because my content is helping them feel like they know me. And so if I reach out to them, they're like, yeah, I feel like I know you from LinkedIn, like Chris Dunn's content, Chris Dunn's story I was sharing. Okay, so let's shift a bit. I kind of put 2 and 3 in there. What are the blind spots and what buyers are actually paying attention to? The last piece of that on what buyers are really paying attention to. They want real stories. I hate the word authentic because it's got so many meanings now, but they want real stories. They want real journey. Again, go to your news feed and see what gets your attention. That's a type of content that is resonating with people. I don't even want to call it with buyers. It's just resonating with people, and your buyers happen to be people, so they're part of it. So the best performing content isn't always the most professional either. In fact, it's generally the more natural, the more conversational, the more real, if you will. It's the most personal because that's what people can connect with the best. Look, I don't know about you guys, but when I read something that's very professional and very logical, I also start to be like, ooh, I don't, unless I'm 1,000% confident that my opinion or what I'm going to say or my point of view, and I really want to, really strong in my belief and support it, I'm probably not going to engage with it because what if I'm wrong? Or what if they think I'm wrong? And then publicly, people are seeing that somebody said this and I said that, and people think I'm wrong. It's scary. I mean, it's really scary. But when we share our journey, when we share the highs and lows, and more people engage with it, value number one, more people engage with it because it's safer to engage with. It's about the human experience. And all of us that are humans, sorry, I'm not talking to the AI bots out there, but all of us that are humans we can resonate with that, and they will. They'll resonate with that human experience. And then as those comments are taking place, or even if they're lurkers and they're not commenting, they're not liking, but they're reading your content, and then they see you in an event where you pick up the phone and call them and they go, oh gosh, I feel like I already know you. Greg, I want to get to your comment in a second. Let me tell one more story of a client experience. There was somebody who started a show, and they're doing a show about 4 or 5 months into doing a show and having their episodes every week. I'm just like, man, I don't know. Are people really seeing this? Is it really working? And this isn't, there's not a direct ROI on this one, but I think it makes a really good point around the lurkers. James Gilman, friend of mine, he went to his high school reunion, and the next morning he texted me and he said, like, dude, I get it now. And I'm like, okay, it's a Sunday morning. What do you get? And he said, I went to my high school reunion last night, and he said, throughout it, people were going, hey man, I love your show. I love seeing your content. Keep it up. And he was doing a show. He was creating lots of content. He showed up in LinkedIn like a human, like a leader, the leader that he is. He didn't hide behind content all about his company. He was sharing his experience and sharing his journey. And he said, man, I felt like the prom kings, like everybody commented and people came up to me and talked about my show and my content. But here's the kicker. He said, I don't recall any of them ever commenting or even liking any of my posts. And that is something we have to remember. We absolutely have to remember the vast majority of people are lurkers. They're watching, they're listening, they're paying attention, but they may not be the one to make the first step. But when your outreach is going out, when you have a message, when you ask them for a call, when you see them at an event, that's when all that takes place. And there's an immediate more connection and a deeper conversation because the content you've been creating, the consistency of showing up has laid that stage one foundation for us. Remember, don't forget, we were talking about stage one in networking. That first stage is about, do I like this person? Do I want to keep talking to them? Is this somebody I would want to do business with? Are they a complete jerk? Do I not like them? I don't vibe with them. I don't want to talk to them. All that stage one, we do it through content. And when we have that first face to face, it accelerates. That's the real advantage. So, Greg, let me take a look at this. Nor, can you put that up there? Thank you. Shifting from push to pull, attract, which has been an empty mantra for decades. Trusted advisor was a technique, a role. Yeah, absolutely, Greg. You're spot on. I think, I'd like to say if we want to be seen as a trusted advisor, then you have to give trusted advice. And what does that mean? It means sharing your journey, the advice that you have from it, not talking about your products, not talking about your services. Advice comes from personal journey, personal experience, sharing the emotional, the highs, the lows. That's the type of content that people will resonate with, and they will give you will earn the trusted advisor status without trying to be like, I'm a trusted advisor. You're earning it by what you share. You're earning it because you're demonstrating, hey, I've gone through this. This is what I felt. This is what I did. This is what scared me. This is how we accomplished it. This is where we failed, right? This is where we failed, but this is how we recovered. That type of content is where we earn trusted advisor status. So, Mr. Luark, my friend, let me see your comment. Nora, could you put that up there where I could actually read everybody? If I want to read it over here on the side, I'm going to have to throw these on. But love that. Sometimes the company data, room, and posts is important as the likes and comments. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. The likes and comments, they're good. They're great. I don't dislike them, but they're not everything. In fact, some of the best conversations I've had with people started because they sent me a direct message that said, hey, I've been watching your show. I've been paying attention to your comment. I think you might be able to help us here. That's great inbound, but it works outbound as well. When you send a message out and you present a value proposition or ask them, hey, would you be open? And they go, oh yeah, you know what? I see your content all the time. Let's schedule time. That's all we're doing. I mean, this isn't rocket science. It's just, we have to shift. We have to put on a new lens about content. And honestly, we have to have some courage. We have to have a little bit of courage. But Nora, can you put Greg's, it looks like a question, and you may have already talked about this. I'm beginning to think, feel, see that the higher audience numbers, views, etc., is taking on less value. Yeah, Greg, I think that's a great observation. There's comfort in having large numbers, right? It makes us feel good. But if those large numbers are not converting into the conversations you want and the revenue that you want, then it's just getting in the way. I think there's a logic to the more people I have engaging with my content, the more likely somebody is going to want to buy. There's some logic in it. But I find that, and I think this is an episode that we need to do, there's a movement back to community. And I know people have been doing community a long time, but I think there's a movement back, a desire to smaller community. I'd love to hear what you guys think. I mean, I'm reading things about people are getting sick of smartphones. They're getting tired of constantly being available. They're getting tired of, hey, I haven't picked up my phone for 20, 30 minutes, and now look at all these notifications that I have on there. I even saw some old school flip phones. I mean, the desire is, can I have a phone that just like calls and texts and doesn't give me beeps every 10 seconds with some other alert? Now, I know we can turn off our alerts, but if we have apps on our phone, the temptation is, hey, we're standing at the coffee shop, and instead of waiting and looking around and smelling the coffee and people watching, we go straight to our phone, we put our head down, and we go into our apps. If you don't have apps on your phone, you got to engage in the real world. And I believe there is a move back to that smaller, quainter community, Greg, with better, high quality conversations, instead of the goal was mass numbers meant everything better. I think the numbers like that don't relate to intimacy. Now, look, I don't consider myself this some sort of influencer, and I'm sure they have a different perspective about it and about the numbers leading to their goals. But that's my personality, my desire. That's what I would lean towards. So, Lincoln, Nora, can you put that one up too? 100%, Greg. We're all guilty of chasing vanity metrics because it's nice to be liked, but it's not outcome-based KPI. Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that, and I agree with both of you on that. So let's go. I want to go into the Resonance First content engine now as we start to wrap up. What does it mean? So first of all, I'm going to repeat. Logic content makes us think. Emotion makes us act. So the goal is, how do we get people to act? How do we capture their attention? How do we get them to resonate with what we're saying and have them feel like we get them? Right? That's the goal. And so I'm going to give you, I got 3 points here, and then I'm going to give you 3 moves that you can make. I've said this throughout, but start with, what have you lived? What have you learned? But also, what are you living and what are you learning? Right? For me, I don't know about you guys. How do you define authentic content? Oh, it's such a big word now with so many different meanings. But for me, authentic is that. What have you lived? What have you learned? What are you living? What are you learning? And if you can share that, and I'll acknowledge again, it's hard. I get it. This is a new freaking muscle that none of us want to work out. But if we're looking at the amount of time and money and effort we're spending on content, or even outbound and making calls and sending out emails, and it's not getting us the fruit that we want, and we got to change. Well, this is a muscle that we need to work on. You know, I just turned 55. I hate lifting weights. I love to run and walk. I did a 10 miler on Sunday. I did a 5 miler this morning. But I know as I'm getting old, I've got to lift weights. I've got to go work those muscles. As I get older, I'll experience the benefits of it. But I hate it. But it's a new muscle that I know I have to work. And so I joined the gym. But this is a new muscle. Creating content from this style, I get it. It's a new muscle. But sharing, I want to go back to what Greg said, or Lincoln, I can't remember, but that if you want to be seen as a trusted advisor, you have to share trusted advice. And when you share, what have you lived and what have you learned, or what are you living and what are you learning? That's trusted advice. That's coming from experience. That's getting into the mud. And again, the driver of this is emotion makes people act. Logic makes people think. We want them to act, right? We want them to connect with us. And not just a LinkedIn connection. We want them to feel a connection. We want them to reach out. We want them to say yes when we reach out to them. We want them to walk into our booth at a show and walk in and go, man, I feel like I know you, right? I was at a small networking event here in Atlanta. I don't know, it was a little bit ago. And there was like 6 or 7 of us, and there was going to be maybe 15 total people. But we're there, like 6, 7 of us are there. It's early. It's just started. And a guy walks in and he kind of looks around the room. He looks at me and he goes, LinkedIn guy. Now, I don't think I'm a LinkedIn guy. I think I'm a content guy. But that was a way he knew me, because he saw me so much on LinkedIn. And he goes, when I'm ready, I'm calling this guy. I mean, you should watch some of his stuff. His content is great. And he kind of tells it, he tells it to the whole room. What happened? My content emotionally resonated with him to a point that, number one, he remembered me. Number two, he felt like he knew me enough that in a room full of strangers, he calls me out, remembered me, and then told everyone in the room, hey, if you need to work on content, go check this guy's content out. Go see what his approach is to content. Like, that's a big win, right? And it happened because the style of the content, not just the amount of content. So we got to start with that. Here's a big question. When you have content, And like, it's not 100% of the time, but does your content reveal you? Does it reveal about you, or does it try to sell you and sell your company? Just take a look at your content and look and see, is somebody going to receive this as me sharing my journey, myself, my human, or is it going to come off as buy my stuff? Okay. Um, Create content that mirrors real life moments. That's how we emotionally resonate with people. Frustration, breakthrough, a learning, doubt, growth, anger, fear, like all the things we don't want to talk about. It's scary to talk about that stuff, but this is that new muscle, you don't have to go full open commodity. You don't have to go share everything. You don't have to go to the depths of everything. Oh my God, you don't have to go there. But if you're like, hey, for me, when everything I built in the first decade of my career was a publishing company and a printing company and direct mail, and the amount of checks that we wrote, credit card, we sent to the US Postal Service. And then in 2010, 2011, I'm getting, seeing more about email and marketing automation and HubSpot and what they're doing in blogs and how it's so much cheaper than direct mail. And it scared the hell out of me because I thought I was good at what I did. I got that, like, for the next 30 years, I can do this, right? I can cruise control and do well and make money and provide for my family. And no, I hit a freaking wall. And then I had to go figure out this HubSpot thing. I had to go figure out digital marketing, and then looked at it from my background and go, wait, I'm gonna do this a little different. Right? When we share those types of stories, that's when people go, man, I've been there. I've done that. All right, 3 moves that you can make right now, and we're going to wrap up. One is a voice inventory. You may want to call it a personal brand. I hate that term. I think so many of us, it's just like, so overplayed. But when you take a look at your content, you go look at your industry. Are you saying the same thing as everyone else? Do you have a uniqueness to your voice, to the content that you share? And if not, that's where you got to get into the hard work and go, what is my differentiator? What is my uniqueifier? Love that term. Your experience, your journey, where you've worked, where you got fired from, where you got laid off, where you grew, where you exited, where you went to school, why you chose it, what happened there. That's your uniqueifier. And when you share those types of stories from a place of, hey, I'm going to share this to help other people learn. I'm going to share this to invite you into my conversation and be a part of my community because I want to be a part of your community. That's how we lead and we get remembered. So do the voice inventory, take a look at your content, take a look at other people's content in your industry and say, do I stand out? Do I say anything that creates emotion? And do I say anything in there that makes me unique or different? And unfortunately for most of us, we just don't. We don't, or if we do a little bit, we don't have the emotion behind it because we're still in content for promotion and not content for connection. Start recording. This is the way you start, and don't give yourself pressure. I'm not gonna post this. I'm not gonna post it. Just take that pressure. I tell yourself, I'm not gonna post this. Is one of the best ways to create really good content. Turn on your camera and start recording real emotional reflections from different seasons of your life. Not just talking points, right? Most of the time we go, I'm going to create a video. If you get there, I'm going to create a video. I'm going to write a blog. I'm going to do an article. We go do an agenda. We figure out what our talking points are going to be. And we'll go through, big statements, supporting facts, transition statement. Remember thesis and things like that we write in college and all that. That's the way we do it. And it's very logical. I want you to start working on telling these emotional reflections. Think about something you went through and then start talking about, how did you feel? Like, what caught you off guard? What surprised you? What did you do well? What did you not do well? What happened from that decision? Like, what do you feel or felt? What do you observe or observed? And what were you thinking, or what are you thinking now? Those are real simple ways to get into that emotional. Um, and then the last thing would be visibility without vanity. Um, don't, here's a move you can make. Don't worry about the vanity metrics. Don't worry for a little bit. If this resonates with you, if this topic, if this concept of emotional resonant content resonates with you, you try this. Give yourself a 2-3 month period and test it and see. But don't worry about the numbers. I'll give you this. This is episode 11 of Revenue Through Reputation, and we're on like almost episode 150 of my other show, Mastering Modern Selling. I think the first 7-8 episodes I had, man, I had no comments. Like, people weren't showing up. I was like, if I went to the vanity metrics, I would have stopped. I would have been like, all right, this isn't working. Nobody cares. I'm saying the wrong stuff. But I knew if we just keep going, keep sharing this type of content, that people will start to engage. They'll start to find value in it. They'll tell other people about it. So, Greg, let me see. Nora, Greg's got another one, a technical question. Does ending on a CTA tarnish good emotional content? Greg, that is a great question. Maybe. How's that for an answer? Sorry. Maybe. It depends on the CTA. I think if there is, and I think last episode, and I'll talk about this again, we talked about our 4 steps. Here's a bonus. We talked about our 4 steps of creating emotionally resonant content. And if you want to know more, go look at episode 10, which is where I really deep dove on that. But I mean, gosh, I'll probably do it again by 12 or 13. This stuff is so important right now. The 4 steps is, step 1 is align. Make sure you start with content or a story that aligns you with them. If you remember at the beginning of this, if you watched it from the beginning, I talked about creating content, spending a lot of money, spending a lot of time, having high hopes, and not getting the fruit you want. That's an example of align. Okay. And then we agitate. We talk about what happens from that. What's the pain that comes with that? You're spending all this money, you're spending all this time, you're working your butt off to create content, or you're paying somebody. I talked to some leaders the other day, and they're like, yeah, we pay, I mean, it's not much. It's like $2,000 a month, but all the content that she's creating for us is we're just posting it. Nobody cares. Nobody's paying attention to it. But we always look at it. We're trying to review it. We keep posting it. We're spending $2,000 a month, and nothing's happening. And that one, it's like, my first question was, well, don't give it to the intern unless they've been trained to create proper content, not just brochure style content. But that's another story. So we align, we agitate, we assert. Hey, here's what you do differently, right? For my assert was, just think about this. Logic makes us think, and emotion makes us act. And we want our content to inspire people to act. We want to inspire them to join our community, or to follow us, or join the conversation, or maybe it is to download something. And so the last piece of that is you got the 3 A's, and then you got the I, which is invite. And that's some sort of a CTA, Greg. But the CTA could be share your experiences, share your opinion. Hey, have you been through this? I'd like to hear more, and compare notes. Like, CTA is about inviting them to be more engaging with you. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to say, book a demo or download my ebook, right? I still think, because we don't, buyers and things, they don't want to talk with people unless they want to. Let's make sure that our CTAs are well earned. Make sure that we're not asking for people to do things that they're not ready, because they're going to ignore it. But they'll also remember, like, oh, all they're doing is looking for demos. All they're doing is if we want to be seen as trusted advisors, We have to give trusted advice that comes by sharing our journey and our stories and our emotion and all that. But it also means we have to be careful that we don't smell like commission breath, that we're not focused on the demos because, I mean, we're all sensitive, right? We're all sensitive to this. Most of us don't answer phone calls from an unknown number because we don't want to be pitched. We don't want to be sold. And so we have to be careful with those CTAs. But Greg, thank you for that great question. And hey, I'm going to wrap up. This was episode 11. It's revenue through reputation. I want to thank everybody that if you're listening to the podcast, if you're watching the replay, I especially want to thank today Greg and Lincoln and Noor and Dave, Anthony Carlson and others. I think maybe I missed a few people, but thank you so much for joining in the comments. And look, what I would appreciate, I've been told, don't use the word love. Nobody cares what I love. I get that. I would appreciate if you have topics, you have questions, like shoot them to me. Find me on LinkedIn. It's, Brandon Lee, LinkedIn Digital, the company's fist bump if you need it to find me. But yeah, send me your questions. Send me your any other people you think I should have as guests on the show. Like, I want to make this show for you. I think we're in this pivotal time. Francis, thank you for that. I appreciate that. Thank you, Greg. We're at a pivotal time. I'm gonna end at this. We're at a very pivotal time, in my opinion, or I'm gonna say it stronger. I believe, from my experience, we're at a pivotal time. As we're in a pivotal time in that 2008 through 2010, 2011, and the shift of content going from more printed to electronic to digital. I think we're in this shift now that we've kind of worn out over the last 10 to 15 years, that we used promotional logical content that was working because it was new. It was a new medium. Like, oh, I could go to a landing page and download this PDF. That's really cool. But then we blew it because then we've got marketing automation and calls, and we're bugging people. And now people don't need to go download anything. They'll go get it for free somewhere on their computer or on their phone. And so we're moving. This is the big thing. We're shifting. The way that we engage content is shifting very rapidly. And if we haven't adjusted our style of our content, then we're going to be left in quiet rooms. We're going to be left frustrated that all the time and effort and money we're spending on our content is not creating the conversations that we need and want to grow. So thank you, everybody. Happy Tuesday. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you next week, same time, same place. And hey, if you haven't already, also subscribe to my Revenue Through Reputation LinkedIn page, or share it. We haven't been pushing it a whole lot, which is our mistake. But I want to start moving the restream to that page as well. I think we need, I don't know, like 10 more followers or something to get there. But anyway, that's it. Thank you so much, everybody. I hope you have a great day. And if I can do anything for you, you have any questions, you want to have any conversations, I'm happy to do that. Just reach out and let me know. Goodbye, everybody.